Good afternoon, I'm Felicity Anderson. It's 3:30pm and you're listening to OCR FM on 98.3 through the southwest or 88.7 along the coast. And this is Animal Nation. On today's show we will meet Haans Siver. Haans, who in a previous life was a nightclub owner and private investigator, is a veteran of multiple Sea Shepherd campaigns. She is currently ships manager on the Steve Irwin while at dock here in Williamstown, Victoria. She is also the host of Bear Cravings, a vegan cooking show on YouTube. I'll be talking to Haans from the ship about all that and more after this short break. You're listening to Animal Nation on OCR FM. Now I have Haans Siver on the line. She is a woman who has followed her passion with single-minded determination. She is also someone I am proud to call a friend. Hi Haans and welcome to Animal Nation.
Hey Felicity, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So you've always been drawn to the sea, and I thought we could start off by talking a little bit about how that started.
How I started on Sea Shepherd, or how I started?
Oh, just your personal love for the sea and the oceans.
Well, for the sea, I mean, who doesn't love the sea? It's so majestic and amazing. And since joining Sea Shepherd, about 6-7 years ago, I've just sort of really come to learn about what's actually underneath the ocean that not many people know about. So part of learning all about that has been part of my passion to try and protect it and save it. So that's why I do what I do, and I go out to sea as often as I can and try and help save as many animals and marine life as I can.
Yeah, and it's just amazing work that you do. For our listeners who may not be aware of what Sea Shepherd does, can you just run through that briefly?
Yeah, so Sea Shepherd, we're anti-poaching, direct action, non-violent direct action on the line. So we basically will put ourselves on the line in front of illegal poaching vessels, anti-whaling vessels, and try and protect the animals as much as we can. I've done campaigns all the way from Antarctica to all the way up to the coast of South Africa and all the way to Germany, trying to protect the marine life. A lot of it is the fishing, illegal fishing that's going on. There's a lot of illegal fishing going on to the point where our oceans are almost emptied out. So we haven't got many years left before it's going to be like we're in the dangerous zone at the moment of our oceans being emptied out. So we're doing everything we can to try and stop the illegal fishing, and also with the anti-whaling. Then we've got the Faroe Islands where they do the pilot whale slaughter. Then there's Taiji, they do the dolphin slaughter. There's Canada that does a Canadian seal clubbing. There's all kinds of campaigns all over the world that we are doing. And at the moment, in the French Sea Shepherd chapter, have just uncovered all the illegal sea turtles that they've been hacking. The poachers have been hacking up and taking their meat. And so there's a lot of things we do, land-based and sea-based, that we do to protect marine life.
And when you say direct action, what does that mean exactly?
So direct action for us is to basically put ourselves in line. We're not a protesting organisation. We don't believe in... Only on a rare occasion have we actually done it, when Paul Watson was arrested, but we don't really believe in standing there and protesting in front of a building or anything like that. We're more putting ourselves out on the front line in front of these poaching vessels, trying to take their illegal long lines that are in the water and possibly, being rammed by one of their vessels, or, the actions that they take against us and against our crew. So that's basically what we do. Other organisations have different tactics. These are our tactics, and this is the way we do things. So this is what Sea Shepherd is all about, is that we're on front line.
So obviously you have a fleet of ships then?
Yeah, we have 10 in our fleet now.
10 ships, wow.
Oh, pretty amazing, yeah.
That is.
So I've sailed the 4 big ships that we have, all 4 of them, and we've just now received a ship from a smaller vessel from Dr. Brona, who does all the organic soaps, and he's donated a vessel, and I think that currently in Germany. So we've got ships all over the world at this very moment. And
you're currently in dock in Williamstown, Victoria?
Yes, I'm currently the ship manager of the Steve Irwin in Williamstown, and anyone is allowed to come down here on a Sunday afternoon and have a free tour.
Fantastic. And so what would a day, while you're in dock, what would an average day look like for you?
So we're actually doing a massive engine overhaul, and Steve Irwin has 2 engines, and we're taking the engines apart, taking them out of the engine room, and then taking them to be fixed and cleaned and overhauled, and then put all back together again. So that's about a 3-month job that we're doing at the moment. So the Steve we'll be here for at least another 4 or 5 months before we will be going out in around December, January.
So does that mean that Sea Shepherd are always looking for volunteers who obviously have those sort of skills? It's a very specific skill, isn't it? That would be like ship's mechanic.
Yeah, we're definitely always looking for volunteers, and we're always looking for engineers. We're always looking for like carpenters and plumbers and electricians and anything like that can help keep our ship together. She is 40 years old, so there's a lot of rust repair to do. There's a lot of painting to do. There's a lot of maintenance to do on the ship as well. So we're always looking for people with trades that can volunteer up to 3 months of their time and come and work on the ship.
That's a worthwhile cause to get involved with. Can you tell us about your last campaign in the Southern Ocean?
Yes, in my last campaign was Operation Nemesis, which was last Christmas, and I was on the Ocean Warrior as the second officer. So that one we went down to Antarctica again to fight the Japanese whaling fleet, and we were lucky to have found the Nishimaru once. We found her one time. That was usually our target ship. We found my ship personally on the Ocean Warrior. We found the Yishin Marus. There's 3 harpoon ships, and we found them 9 times. We managed to, every time we find them, we managed to stop them from hunting whales, because then they end up chasing us.
Okay.
Fortunately for us, with the Ocean Warrior, she can go 32 knots, so the Ocean Warrior can tag a harpoon ship behind us for a few days off course, and then we'll just speed off and take off and say goodbye to it. We've taken a ship out of the action.
That must be a really satisfying feeling when that happens.
It is very satisfying to watch the ship and you just wave goodbye. See you later.
Now, obviously, the Southern Ocean is vast. How do you locate the ships?
It's really a needle in a haystack. So we go down there. We sort of know where the whales migrate and where there's a lot of krill, because that's where they go to feed. So obviously they're going to where the whales are feeding and chasing those whales. So that's where we go to the same spot. And it's always the same, because they migrate in the same areas every year. So that's their memory.
But even so, over such a vast area, it's quite remarkable that you find them as often as you do.
I know. There have been a few slip chances where it's like, because it's 24-hour daylight down there as well when you're in the summer. So even in the middle of the night, it's broad daylight, and we hide behind icebergs, and we sit and we turn the radars off and the engines off, and just wait and see what happens, and then we might move somewhere else, and then just wait to see what happens, and so they basically don't hunt in the night hours because they're normal paid people, whereas we're all ship full of volunteers and we work 24 hours a day, so we're always on the lookout, whether they know it or not.
And how many people are in the crew on the Ocean Warrior?
On the Ocean Warrior we had 16. That's at capacity. The other ships like the Bob Buck and the Stevedore, where we can have 30 to 40.
Right. So the logistics of looking after and feeding that many people must be massive. Yeah. On the Ocean Warrior we have 1 cook, but on the other bigger ships we have 3 cooks, and all our food is vegan. We obviously are vegan for obvious reasons, as we can't tell one country you can't eat that animal, but yet we'll go eat another one. That's very critical. Obviously, the environmental impact of the cattle industry and the carbon emissions and all that sort of stuff. So those reasons are why we are vegan. Also, as a lot of us are animal rights activists, and that's part of the job. So you don't have to be a vegan to board our ships, but you end up leaving one pretty much. Yeah. I think you're when you're surrounded by people with that level of passion and obviously just the education and awareness that comes from that, I'd be surprised if people weren't impacted by that.
Yeah, it's really nice to see when people come on board that are from all over the world, and they're from different walks of life and different trades that we need to keep our ships running, and they really don't have much idea of what it is. I mean, they know what we do, but not realising the impact of the environment of what it is that we're protecting. So once they sort of are around all of us, they learn, and they make their own decision if that's the path they want to go down. And I can tell you about 90% of them do go down that path.
And I guess once they've tasted all the delicious food, they think, well, what's stop holding me back?
I know, yeah, the food is pretty good. We've been pretty spoiled.
And because I would imagine there'd be a lot of hours when you are just waiting and where there isn't a lot of action, so eating
there is a lot of downtime where we're just really, I mean, it takes for our older ships, a week and a half, 2 weeks to get there as it is, so there is a lot of downtime. Mm-hmm. And then searching. And
so for the last season, how many whales were actually killed, do you know?
They did reach their quota, the 333 whales, which is their quota now, unfortunately.
Is that the minke whales?
The minke whales, yeah. 333 minke whales. About 150 of them were pregnant. So those whales are not factored into their quota once they take them back to land and they do their numbers. But, we did the best that we could do, and we brought attention to the situation, and people did think that they'd stop doing it, and which is completely untrue. They've set another 12-year program, so,
And as people may not be aware that there is a ban on commercial whaling, but the Japanese are whaling under the guise of scientific research.
Yes, but they have actually now admitted that they're not doing scientific research because the International Whaling Commission has voted against them, and the International Court of Justice has voted against them. So now the Japanese whalers have decided that they're going to go on their own law and do their own thing, and they're going to... it's basically just not recognising the international law because they don't want to recognise, one, that it's an Australian or New Zealand waters that they're doing this in, and two, they don't want to recognise the law that they can't do commercial whaling. So they basically just have to say goodbye to the International Whaling Commission and go out on their own, and it's their own law.
Now, you just mentioned about being in Australian and New Zealand waters. Do you ever get any assistance from the Australian government when you're out there?
No, we haven't had any assistance from the Australian government. We did have some during Operation Icefish, when we were chasing illegal poaching vessels on the Patagonian toothfish. The New Zealand government did hold some of the Spanish vessels while we were at sea, while we were chasing the Thunder, but they did let them go, unfortunately. The reasons why, I've heard a couple of different reasons why. I don't know what to believe, so I don't want to speculate, but, it is what it is. We do this stuff with or without their help, so we're going to go anyway, and if we can get help, we would definitely take it for sure, as we have been in other countries.
So other governments have actually given assistance?
Yes, we are actually working with governments at the moment. On the Bob Barker, they have armed coast guards living on the ship with our crew. They're basically countries that can't afford to have patrol or marine patrol, so they are basically using our ship and our crew and putting some of their coast guards on who are armed and can arrest people, and they are arresting ships daily, which you can follow all of that through the Facebooks and through the website. Arresting people, arresting ships, taking the ships back to land and arresting the crew on the ship. So we've been working with governments ever since Icefish, and it's been fantastic work because we've put so many ships out of action that are doing illegal fishing.
It sounds like quite dangerous work because obviously I would imagine there would be a lot of organised crime behind these operations.
Yeah, the Icefish campaign I did on the Bob Barker, that was a 5-month campaign, and we did chase it's a legal fishing vessel called the Thunder, and they had an Interpol purple notice against them. So when we found them, we were in Antarctica for 2 days, and we found them straight away. It was just by chance that we did. And we chased them for 5 months. In the end, they end up sinking their own ship. And they're actually owned by the Spanish Mafia, and they're called Vidal Amadores. And the core crew that are inside the ship that are working, doing all the hard work of gutting the fish and all that sort of stuff, are actually Indonesians. And this is where human trafficking gets involved, because these people have to hand over their passports and the deeds to their home and stuff to do a year or two contract on these ships, and they don't get paid if they don't fulfil their contract. So these people are just poor people from Indonesia who are just trying to get work, who happen to be stuck in the middle of this entire huge global race against, the poaching vessel and the Spanish Mafia, and us.
And they're basically imprisoned on the ship because... they can't
get to land. That's right. Yeah. So when we chased them long enough, they got the coast of Sao Tome, sunk their own vessel, and we rescued the crew, and we got the Sao Tome Coast Guard came out and picked them up, and then the captain and the two officers, engineers, first engineer and second engineer, I believe it was, were all arrested, and the Indonesians were sent home back to their families. So it was a good outcome, except unfortunately now, due to pollution, we've lost that ship, is now at the bottom of the ocean.
Right. It's just hard to comprehend, really, when we're sitting here nice and safe in our homes and on land, and it's all that's going on out there, and it takes a lot of bravery, a lot of courage to do that work.
It is, for us even, like, many times I've sat on the bow of the ship and, just looked at the ocean, and while we're sailing away chasing this vessel, and I think got everyone back at home going to the movies and watching TV and having a drink and, going out to dinner and stuff like that, and here we are in the middle of the ocean chasing this ship through snow, through heat, through ice, through wind, it's just insane. It's absolutely insane.
It's incredible work.
Yeah.
You're listening to Animal Nation on OCR FM, and I'm talking with Sea Shepherd crew member Haans Siver. Haans, now the marine debris is another Sea Shepherd campaign. Can you fill us in about that?
Marine debris is another one that we've taken on as a land campaign. It's mainly to start cleaning up our beaches and teaching people to stop using plastic bags and straws and bottles and all that sort of stuff. So it is an international campaign. It's very, very strong here in Australia, which is fantastic. So we do a lot of beach cleanups. We have a few bands that also help us out and do beach cleanups. And a band called In Heart's Wake came and did a beach cleanup with us, and got all their fans to come along and help, and there's beach cleanups in other countries as well. So it's been really great, like getting people more aware, and the videos that have been coming out on YouTube and on Facebook, and single-use plastic, and that story with the project also helped sort of boost that single-use plastic problem.
It certainly created a lot of awareness.
Plastic, yeah. So, it's a movement, and it's just started, and I think it's going to boom within the next couple of years.
I watched A Plastic Ocean on the weekend, the documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that?
I can't remember if I've seen so many documentaries. Yeah. I don't know which one I've seen anymore. I get them all confused, yeah.
It's just so confronting that the amount of plastic that's out there that we don't even need. Like, it's completely unnecessary. We don't need to use it, and it all ends up in our oceans, killing wildlife and polluting and poisoning the waters.
Yeah, well, it's like when I used to teach my boyfriend about this sort of stuff, about plastics and stuff, and it's like, I know, he'd just get frustrated with me because I'm like, don't take a straw when you get a drink, and that sort of stuff. I'm always harping on to him about it, but I explained to him, you don't understand. I've been out there in the sea. I've been down in Antarctica. I've seen what these plastic has done to our oceans, and I've been to different countries and their coastline, and we've anchored in like Jakarta and Ghana and all those sort of places, and I've seen what it's like out there, and it's just, for us to contribute to that is just so selfish.
Yeah, ultimately it is selfishness, isn't it? Because it's all about our convenience and what's easy for us, and instead of something taking a few minutes longer, or just being organised to have your own bag with you. On another note, you have a cooking show on YouTube, Bear Cravings. It's pretty entertaining, I must say. How did you start that, Haans?
Actually, Bear Cravings was just a bit of fun for me because, I actually came home from campaign. I think it was Ice Fish 2. I did the second one as well. And when I got back, my housemate was watching the Food Channel. And, of course, because at sea we don't get TV or internet or anything like that. So this is all new to me. And I'm like, what's this new Food Channel? I'd never seen it before. And he's like, he's vegan as well. And he's like, I said, how do you watch them, cutting up the meat and cooking it? He goes, well, I get the recipes and I veganise it. And I was like, and he likes to cook, and I was like, okay, all right, I get it. So I sat there and watched it with him, and then I went through the internet, and I was looking for vegan cooking shows, and I couldn't find anything that was really like lighthearted and entertaining. So my other housemate happens to be a photographer, and I was looking around the room. I'm like, she's got all this equipment here. Why don't we do something? So I sat on the idea for about 2 weeks before I because I wanted to make sure I had it perfect in my head. And I finally said to them, they're like, God, you got to tell us what it is that you're bugging to tell us. So I finally told them, I said, look, I want to do this show. What do you think? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. So that's how it all sort of started. And it took us about 2 weeks to come up with the name, and we played with a few words here and there. And I just wanted the show to be, a bit quirky, a bit funny. I wanted to get away from the stereotypical, how everyone thinks that vegans are all unemployed hippies and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just wanted people to see that we're just normal, everyday people that can cook good, awesome foods. It's easy. All the ingredients are easy to find. They're from your local supermarket. They're not from a health food shop, in Dandenong or something like that. So it was just something that was easy, and to get a guest on to teach their favourite recipe and then learn about their journey to veganism while we're, all the shenanigans are going on. And
yeah, I think it's a great concept. It's a really positive, great concept for people who aren't vegan to see that, okay, yeah, vegans can eat all kinds of food and have fun doing it.
Yeah, that's the whole point. And, it's a lot of fun, and I'm learning to do the editing and stuff now, so that's another side of it, which I'm really enjoying doing. And it's just something that I wanted to not take seriously and enjoy it and have fun with it.
Yeah.
And, whenever I'm at sea, obviously I can't shoot any shows, but when I come back to land, we can shoot a few and then put them up, and, when we can, we can. It's great.
No, it's fantastic, and I think it's good for you to do something that is just fun, and it is a break from what I imagine would be some pretty harrowing, traumatic stuff that you see out on the oceans.
Yeah, it is. It is nice for me to come home and just be a bit goofy.
Well, Haans, I'm afraid we're out of time.
No worries.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavours.
Great, thanks a lot, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, Haans.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you would like to learn more about the work Haans does with Sea Shepherd, go to www.seashepherd.org.au. Or if you would like to check out Bear Cravings, head to the Animal Nation Facebook page for more information. Coming up next, for compassion's sake, my plea for a kinder world. But now, here is Cyndi Lauper with True Colours. On Sunday, I watched a documentary called The Plastic Ocean. It was about our excessive use of plastic, particularly single-use, and the damage it is doing to our environment. Harrowing scenes showed the stomachs of dead albatross chicks being emptied of pieces of plastic. The chicks had starved to death after being fed the plastic by their unwitting parents. Also on Sunday, a humpback whale and her calf became tangled in shark nets off the Gold Coast. The baby died, the mother was released and fortunately survived. It was just one of countless deaths on that day attributed to human interference with nature or caused by our thoughtless, excessive consumption and throwaway habits. Humans really do express the ultimate narcissism. We believe the planet is here for us and us alone. We treat it like our pantry, our playground and our rubbish bin all at once. We see ourselves as separate to the natural world and have falsely convinced ourselves that Earth is here for us to control at our whim. Australians alone use 1 billion disposable coffee cups every year. We send an estimated 3.76 billion plastic bags to landfill each year. We use approximately 3 million coffee pods a day. We buy cheaply made clothes which barely last a season, then discard it to sit in landfill for decades, possibly centuries. America alone uses 500 million straws every day. To do all this and more, we drill holes in the ocean floor, we cut down mountains and forests, polluting every corner of this planet. We are home wreckers. We rape and pillage with no restraint. We leave devastation in our wake, and we do all this for convenience. The victims of our desire for ease are choked and strangled and starved to death as our waste invades their homes. When we are not using and discarding, we are reining nature in to suit our wants. Shark nets have been killing the ocean's inhabitants since they were first erected. In the 2015-16 financial year, 14 dolphins lost their lives on the New South Wales coast after becoming entangled in nets, and thousands of other sea life, including sharks, turtles and birds, were also killed. They died because we feel we have the right to enter their home without risk. Our self-obsession knows no bounds. I admit I despair for those we share this planet with and for ourselves. I see how brilliant we can be, how creative and inventive, and I am frustrated beyond words. Knowing we have the capability to do things differently, but choose not to, makes me wring my hands in desperation. How does one remain optimistic in the face of such apathy? I really don't know, but I can't stop working for a better future, and to that end, I'm going to ask you to do a few small things. Stop using single-use plastic, such as straws, water bottles, and bags. Recycle everything possible. Pick up any litter you see and dispose of it accordingly. Acknowledge that we share this planet with others and that they have an equal right to live here. And finally, teach your children to respect their home. Maybe if enough of us do these things, we will have a chance. I'm trying very hard to remain compassionate towards our species, to not give up hope, but it's hard, and in my darker moments I feel it is a futile effort. But I look to the light and focus on those dedicating their lives to change. I see the young people who have shaken off the shackles of human superiority, and I cross my fingers. We may just alter our course after all. Well, that brings us to an end of another Animal Nation. I would like to thank Haans Siver again for taking the time to talk to me about the vital work she is doing with Sea Shepherd. It's comforting to know there are people out there dedicating themselves to protecting our planet. Its inhabitants, including us, really do depend on them. Please check out The Plastic Ocean on Netflix if you get the chance. We really need to act now. Next week, we will be hearing from Melbourne Sheep Safe co-founder Robin Cochrane. Robin is a passionate animal rights activist with a soft spot for our woolly friends. She'll be discussing the suffering endured by sheep in the Australian sheep industry. I look forward to speaking with you again next week. Until then, be kind and remember, they are not underlings, they are other nations.